Get ready. Blues Traveler and Jen Blossoms. Plus special guests, Spin Doctors. September 10th, Lordson Amphitheater at Waterworks Park. Blues Traveler, Jen Blossoms. Tickets are on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster. Blues Traveler and Jen Blossoms. Presented by the Willis Summer Series.
Chad Leistikow, Scott Dochterman, the two biggest Hawkeye and Big Ten beat writers, together on one show. GameDay Men's Health proudly presents Legends and Listeners. Best enjoyed with an Easy Eddie from Big Grove Brewery. This is Legends and Listeners, exclusively on Iowa Everywhere.
Hey, Hawkeye fans, Big Ten fans, and Iowans everywhere. It is a Thursday live edition of Legends and Listeners. Our 130th episode, brought to you as always by our fabulous partner and friends at GameDay Men's Health. I'm Chad Leistikow of the Des Moines Register. Always pleased to be joined by Scott Dochterman of The Athletic. And today, the Channel Seed Studios have migrated, for me anyway, to Los Angeles, California, for the second half of the Iowa USC basketball doubleheader. Scott, I was in the air, missed the whole game last night for the Hawkeye men as they survive the Trojans 73-72, but I did watch it all when I got to my room at last. How are you doing, by the way? How's it back in Iowa? Everything good?
Everything's wonderful, Chad. You're in LA. It's kind of like we've been crisscrossing this month.
Yeah.
You were in Tampa. I was in LA. Now you're in LA, and I was in Miami. Now I'm back in Iowa. I would say that the weather was better in Miami than it has been in Iowa the last month or so. But I will say I was in person last night. I did go to the game.
Perfect.
At Carver. And I'll say this, that at one point when Iowa took a 47-32 lead on Bennett Sturt's three-pointer, I had my decibel reader out, 114 decibels. So that's pretty strong. I mean, the highest I've ever recorded there for overall was Caitlin Clark's shot against Indiana at 119. And for the men, it was the day before with Peyton Sanford's three against Michigan State, which was 117. So
wow.
Yeah, it was a pretty impressive. It wasn't full, but it was definitely loud.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that because I saw the official attendance was like 10,000-ish, something like that. But it sounds like the crowd was still enthusiastic. I don't know, like you were there for the NIT, the famous NIT crowds. You know what I mean? Like those are good crowds. When people want to be there. Are we talking about when we're talking about the men's atmosphere? Because that's what McCollum wants to grow. Are we talking about? Do you feel like the crowds have been better this year? I mean, they're obviously better than last year, but do you feel like they're on board, I guess?
This was the third men's game that I've attended. And the first one I went, I think you did too. We went to the debut of the Ben.
Yeah, when he was going like this to get everybody up. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'd say the last two against Illinois and then last night against USC, it's got a different vibe to it. And, it's not full, as you know, and I would say, there were quite a few empties, not really negative though, because we've been there before where people are just on their hands and they just don't, even when it's somewhat full. This is not the case. I mean, when they were down early and it was like 13-1 early, they were still pretty enthusiastic. It was That's like good. It got it was a lull at times, and I don't blame them. It was pretty rough, but then once they kind of kicked things into gear, it was pretty enthusiastic. So I would say that as we know, it's going to take time for it to be what everybody involved wants it to be. But the enthusiasm is trending in the right direction, and as long as they continue to win games the way they did last night, it was exciting, probably too exciting at times. And Bennett starts even saying after the game that he apologized to the fans and his coaching staff for making it too stressful. But I think it was to win in the Big Ten is a big deal, especially against a team that's got roughly the same number of wins as you.
Yeah, it was kind of a battle of mid-pack teams for now. Iowa's hitting a stretch where it's got some winnable games, so it can make a move up here. That was important to do that. Regarding the crowd, obviously I wasn't there. I told you guys that, but I've been there several times this year too, and I just feel like everybody. I don't know. Like I feel like everybody wants it. Okay, everybody get back. Everybody's kind of why isn't the arena full? I think it's just going to take time. Like it's just. I think it needs to take time. Like I don't think it has to be like a instantaneous thing. I think it has to be. You think about even back to women's basketball. In 2019 with Megan Gustafson, I mean, those weren't full houses, no. But they got. I mean, I think it was a big deal when they got like 11 or 12,000 for the NCAA tournament. That I believe, as I remember being out in Ohio covering the men when that was going on, and so it just they lost a lot of ground, with the last couple of years of McCaffrey, just with disinterest, and I do wonder, like. Side note, if Iowa wrestling continues to dwindle a little bit in terms of its, competitiveness against Penn State, if there's going to be some apathy there, I'm sensing that. And I wonder, whenever the next era comes, whenever that happens, like, will there be an automatic, return, or will it take some time? So, anyway, I'm just saying, like, I'm not too worried about the crowd. I think everything's trending in the right direction. And I think getting a win like that last night, not essential, but very important to to their record this year. They now move ahead of 500 in the Big Ten Conference, and it's a really good conference. So it was a crazy game, though, huh? Like that one guy, Cam Woods, 33 points. He had 25 all season. No. Yeah, I watched the whole game when I got here, and listened. Kevin Kugler was just beside himself on the broadcast. He just couldn't believe it. He was like, he scored again. And thankfully, he took the last shot because, like, their best player was wide open right next to him, and he forced a three to finish, and they lost.
Yeah, I mean, 19 straight points between, like, 5 and change, like 5:17 and right before 1 minute left. I mean, it was an incredible run. I mean, and it happened so fast that I hate to admit it, I was talking to somebody, in Iowa, and I didn't even really notice it, and all of a sudden it was like, what the hell just happened? Because they were up like 15 when and then all of a sudden it came down to that. But, it just shows you that in the Big Ten, I mean, Eric Musselman's a great coach, and he's got a really good team. He assembled a great roster, and they're going to be a tough out for just about anybody. And for them to be on the road, and they beat Wisconsin the other day, and to take that big lead, then to surrender it when Iowa had a 20-4 run, and really at the beginning of the second half, and go down 17, and then for him and Cam Woods to go all the way back, take the lead, and then have an inexplicable foul on the sideline there, right?
Seriously.
And he was livid. I mean, he didn't talk in post game. I actually went over because I wanted to ask him a couple other questions about stuff, and they said it's not a good time. And he was F-bomb city all the way up through the tunnel, and then in the locker room, and then all the way when everybody was on the bus, he was still F-bombing. So
the coach?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
He was really.
Was he mad at the whistle or his player?
I think
because it looked like a clear foul, didn't it?
Yeah, and that's what I don't understand is it was a clear foul. I mean, our vantage point on Media Row was, he got trapped, but he fouled him.
Yeah.
It was almost like he thought he was down a point or something.
That's what I thought when I watched it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I imagine if he sees that, he's probably going to be like, what the hell? And then to top it off, you had, Brad Taylor from the Big Ten, who's had a basketball at the Big Ten. He was there. I don't know if he was there at the end of the game, but I talked to him during the game at one point, and it's like, I don't know what you're angry about. I'm sure it's probably one of those where he'll watch the film and go, oh, okay, I'm wrong. But either way, it was a tremendously interesting game, stressful on everybody, and it was a big win. Because you have to get these wins, and you're at home. You play a team that was hot at that moment, win by 1 point, and move on. It's really important.
And want a couple shout outs here. Bennett Sturts the guy plays 40 minutes again. I did a big story on that this week. Hope you guys check that out at hawkcentral.com. I mean, just how that's his 47th career game of 40 minutes or more. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
It truly is an Iron Man. He is like, no one's going to compare to Niall Kinnick, but just like he just doesn't come out, he doesn't come out. And these are tough, grueling games. And then to sit there with 4.6 seconds left in the game on the line to sink both free throws, that was really clutch. He did the same against Rutgers. He was really clutch down the stretch in that game too. So I was very lucky to have him. We'll get to another guy, a 1-year transfer later that Iowa was lucky to have in football later in the show. But he has kind of that winning persona, just like Mark Gronowski did. He came here with a reputation for winning. We're seeing Bennett Sturts, find ways to win down the stretch in these games. Even the ones they did lose, like at Minnesota, he was like bringing them all the way back, like with heroic performances. So he's really good. Tavion Banks, another 20 points last night. He's clear they're their number 2. It was nice to see Alvaro Folgueras kind of have some positives. He's been struggling quite a bit lately, but I still don't, they need more. I mean, they don't quite look like, a team that can make a run yet. I don't feel like, I feel like they just need more scoring punch throughout. Cale Combs plays like 35 minutes and he's just a non-factor offensively. Cooper Kosh just needs to get going. Very inconsistent with everyone else right now. I mean, Tate Sage was like the darling, and then he had 1 point last night. Nothing against him; he's a freshman, but just like Sturts is the only one you can really count on. Banks, I feel like, is number 2, but after that, you don't know if, who's going to have a good game. Besides those two.
Yeah, they're very inconsistent on offense. I think that's fair to say that they've got some, it's like a mix between the Drake guys. You kind of know what you're going to get, and they provide that baseline. Bennett Sturts is, one of the top 15 players in the country, and he plays like it just about every night. I think Tavion Banks is a guy who comes in and you get a pretty strong performance each and every time. Cam Manuel got a couple of early fouls that really deterred him.
Manuel.
Manuel.
There you go.
I was just saying like ShamWow. Wham.
Yeah.
ShamWow. Wow. But I think Folgueras is the one that absolutely needs to really be more consistent. He had a really good performance, and I know Bennett talked him up after the fact. But I kind of we always want to compare the current team to the past team, and it's especially true in football. We do it every year. What team is this like? Is it 08 or 09? But I think in basketball, as comparing it to some of the recent past, I guess I would say offensively they're not as good. They just struggle at times to generate offense, and certainly not in the transition they're not there, and also just outright scoring, and that was Fran's forte anyway. Defensively they're incredible. I mean, it's night and day. They are better. They can get stops. They're physical. Now last night was not a great night for them defensively, but they still put themselves in position to make winning plays when they need to. So you've got to respect that part of it. I mean, when USC shoots, almost 53% and almost 60 in the second half, that's something that they got to work on. But I do think that this team is still a very competitive team. Probably, it's in the upper half of the Big Ten. That's probably where it's at right now, which means it's a tournament team, and it's got some games that it can win. Oregon is not playing well. You've got Northwestern at home coming up. You got you got the second leg at Washington, which may be a challenge, but I think they're in position to make a little bit of a run and gain some ground and build up the mulligans. And so I think that overall, again, take your win any way you can get it and move on.
Yeah, that was kind of the mentality after the Rutgers game, too. They found a way to win that one. Would have been a rough loss. This was going to be one of their tougher ones in this very winnable 6-game stretch. They won at Indiana to precede this 6-game stretch. But now you go at Oregon on Sunday. Ken Palm projects that as a 7-point Iowa win. Oregon's really struggling without its 2 top players with injury. Then you're at Washington. That's probably the toughest one of these next 4. Home against Northwestern on February the 8th. And then at Maryland. which is really struggling this year. You get them for a 2-play this year, so which is kind of nice. And then you come home to Purdue on Valentine's Day. So and then it's home against Nebraska. So you got kind of a 1-2 punch there. Then you're at Wisconsin. I mean, it's getting real again. So yeah, make hay right now. But I just think the Fulgaris thing. I think if he's the guy that if he can just get going, and you can just see it's just so inconsistent. You just don't know what you're going to get. But if they can get him to what he can be, then I think you've got a lot more scoring punch out there. And then I think the other guys come through, the Cooper Koches, maybe Isaiah Howard, Sage. Yeah. It was nice to see Hassan get a couple minutes last night, but But anyway, I still like this team a lot. I'm just you just need more scoring punch, like you said. Anyway,
yeah.
What do you think they do? Do you think they go ahead?
Well, no, ask your question.
No, do you think they go 4-0 in these next 4? What do you think? Do you think are they good enough to do that?
I think they're good enough to go at least 3-1, and but I also want to, and this is where the breakthrough comes through, Chad. It's the Washington game is the one that stands out for me. You're on the road. It's the second part of your road trip out west. It's a late game. It's 10 o'clock Central is when it tips off. And you've also got, and so, it's in the mix of then if you beat Oregon, a 4-game win streak. So you've got a challenging trip here, but it's, but this is where you have to win those games. Like last night, you go out there, if you could win, I think they got a really good shot at going 4-0 and then getting yourself in a position where you won 7 straight playing Purdue, who you played pretty tough. Purdue's not infallible, as we saw. They lost to Indiana the other day, and I think you've got to yourself in that spot. And and speaking of the younger guys, they flash a lot of potential. Cooper Koch is a great talent, but he's still young. He's a redshirt freshman. Isaiah Howard comes in with spurts. Tate Sage certainly does. You really love him off the bench, and there's some of those guys are really doing what it takes. It's just you need your veterans to be more, to be consistent. Bennett Sturts has been consistent. Tavion Banks has been consistent. Cam Wow gives you that really big, tough presence that you need. But Fulgaris, to me, is the key. This is the key as to whether or not they're a tournament team or they're a potential team that gets you to the second weekend. He has to be the one because he's and I mean that because I think he's really good, or he has the potential to be really good. He's tall. He can rebound. He also is, pick and pop. You can shoot outside. You can come inside. He's got such versatility. You want him to be more consistent. And if he can be more consistent, then this team can going from an upper half Big Ten team to an upper third Big Ten team, which also puts you in that 4 to 5 position in the tournament where you feel like you've got a point flip game in the second round if you get past the first. But otherwise, if he doesn't play well, if he struggles or if he's inconsistent, then you're in the 7, 8, 9 range in the tournament, which is 1-1, which is where Iowa has lived for 25 years.
I know. I feel like that. That was like every year, every time they made the tournament under Tom Davis, it was like either 8 or 9. Then you get the 1 win like Tom Davis always did. And then you got the 1 loss like Tom Davis always did. Yeah. One more basketball thing before we move on to football, because football is going to be fun today, and women's basketball. I'm fired up about women's basketball out here. Is Tavion Banks now, Scott, has made 30 consecutive free throws, 4 away from Chris Street's record and Jordan Bohannon's record. There's already chatter, should he intentionally miss if he gets to that point? And I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
You know what? Break it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I think at the time when Jordan did it, and remember the season that they are having, it was a rough season, and there is still such an attachment to the street name and legacy. I think everybody we all remember where we were when that happened, and I think anybody that's probably over the age of 45 does. But we're also talking 33 years now. If you get in a situation and really honor the legacy by breaking it, and then also, it's not really, it's not appropriate at this time to me to worry about stuff like that. I think you just do what you do. It'd be the same way if somebody came close to breaking, Niall Kinnick's most yards in a punt return yards in a game or something like that. It's right. Let's just do it, So maybe I'm not giving it its proper due, but I thought what Jordan Bohannon did was fantastic at the time, but I also think that with if he makes it that far, break it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think he will. I don't think it. The intentional miss is always going to be actually a part of Jordan Bohannon's legacy.
Yeah.
And that's great. It's an unbelievable, selfless decision, selfless moment that we'll talk about forever. And but Tavion Banks doesn't. He just got here, in June. He doesn't know. I mean, he may know a little bit about Chris Street, but it's not. It's just different. I mean, I think that, go break it. He could do it at, or it's just a new era. Go do it out in the Pacific Northwest. When nobody's really paying attention. So we'll see if he's got to actually make them. He's got to make 5 more to do it. He was 8 for 8 last night on an unbelievable run. Pretty cool. And by the way, of these next 4, the Washington game is the only quad 1 opportunity. Iowa has 1 quad 1 win so far at Indiana. So that was another reason this Pacific Northwest trip is big. They could maybe notch another quad 1 win. Scott, speaking of, not speaking of anything, but I just want to, before coming out west, I stopped in with my good friends over at GameDay Men's Health over in Clive. Told them I was coming out to LA, ready to run my 52-year-old legs along the Pacific Ocean. They were pretty fired up, so I got my tee shot before leaving the great state of Iowa, and it's going great. Can't wait to get out there later today. I see the sun's coming out this morning. Got my coffee. Testosterone replacement therapy is going great for me. I just got my blood work back on Wednesday. They keep tabs on you too, and make sure your levels are in the right spot. That's what they do. They're really good at what they do, and it turns out no shock. They've had me completely dialed in to exactly where I need to be. So we're just going to keep going with the same doses. With these weekly tee shots, can truly help you feel like you're in your 20s again, with your life, your fitness, your home life. Keeps everything in good balance. Get hooked up with GameDay Men's Health via a private, no obligation, free consultation at one of the locations in Central Iowa, Ankeny, West Des Moines, or North Liberty, and also now in Naperville, Illinois, for those of you in the Hawkeyes over there in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. So thank you, GameDay, and looking forward to, I'm going to enjoy my time out here, but I'll be back in time for next week's shot.
Well, that's great, Chad. And same here. Great blood work, probably best I've had certainly in years, and if not decades. And down 60 pounds now, so that's awesome. I probably shouldn't slump. Maybe I'd look a little bit better. And but so it's been a godsend for me. Feel great. And then, and the best part is after a while, if you give blood, it's really rich and it's helpful for those people who need it. And it also helps kind of sustain yourself with the testosterone replacement therapy. And I really feel like this has been truly a change for me and at a really important time in my life. And I would suggest everyone give this an opportunity, because it really helps you become the best version of yourself, whatever
Absolutely.
Stage of life you're in. And I'm glad to see you're going to be running on around the Pacific Ocean. I never got a chance to do that in Miami. I should have, but I didn't. But run a lap run a half block for me or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I was able to get out last week in DC. I was able to get outdoors. Haven't been able to get out. I'm a little bit of a wimp when it comes to the cold weather running. Back in Iowa, so I was really looking forward to this trip. So we'll get out there later today. Now, Scott, I get to turn it over to you because you are Mr. Football Schedules. You've always been Mr. Football TV. You are, basically, you're right in the 80. You ranked all 81. Is it 81 games, right?
81, yeah.
You ranked 81 Big Ten football games, and I was reading it this morning. I was scrolling to see where you had Iowa, and that. But man, the Big Ten football schedules came out on Tuesday. Obviously, I'll let you start wherever you want to start. You can start with Iowa. You can start with the Big Ten. We are a Big Ten show, so you go with it, buddy.
Yeah, I'll start with let's start slightly big picture, which is that the Big Ten has the last three national champions, but it also has the last three national champions all playing in a round robin, which I think is really remarkable when you have, I think the number one game for me, and it wasn't even really close, was Indiana playing host to Ohio State on October 17th. And that is the biggest game to me in the country this year. And now, who knows if Indiana slubs or if Ohio State's attrition costs them a little bit. But I think that game is number one for me. Another one, it's down the list a little bit, but it's still got in the same category. And that's, Indiana going to Michigan that very next week. So, there's a couple of teams that have Iowa that play Michigan and Ohio State in succession. Indiana and Iowa both happen to do that. And then finally, of course, we know about the game, Michigan and Ohio State, and that's the last weekend of the year. But that to me jumps out. Plus, there's some other big ones. When you look at Oregon playing at Ohio State, you've got Ohio State going to USC, which I think for me, when the first kind of wave of expansion happened, that was the game I was most looking forward to. It's like they were kind of the flagship football programs of their conferences, and they'd already matched up 7 times in the Rose Bowl previously. So USC and name recognition, Ohio State was kind of like, okay. And then finally we get it, year 3. And of course, there's a ton of other really big and important games. But I think taking it down to the micro level with Iowa, it's kind of like a tale of two seasons. It's almost like what we would see 5 or 6 years ago.
Right.
You play your 3 crossovers to start the Big Ten season. You have a bye, and then you play your old buddies from the West Division to finish it out. All 6 of them, too. So it's kind of like, hey, the gang's all together again. But that first 3 is very, very difficult. As difficult as it gets.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously we're going to talk about those first 3 in a sec. But how they make these schedules. Is that like intentional? Or is it just kind of happen that all 6 of those? Look at that. At Minnesota, home against Wisconsin, at Northwestern with the new stadium, home against Purdue, at Illinois in the wind tunnel, and then home against Nebraska. That Illinois-Nebraska double to finish is like, that's what it always had been, basically.
Yeah, right.
One way or another, home or away. So was that intentional? I know Iowa has the 3 obvious crossovers, so, but it just seems so random. It can't be random, right? To finish that way?
It's somewhat.
How does it work?
Is.
Okay.
Well, for the Iowa and the Big Ten West Jamboree, it's pretty random.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
that's not really intentional that they decide to do that. There are games that the Big Ten identifies or puts at certain weeks. It's they do have a computer program. I didn't get the numbers like last year. I think it was like 62 program, something like that before they spit out the schedule they liked. But you have your set rivalry weekends. It's not completely random. It's not like Ohio State and Michigan play the second week of October or anything. Nebraska and Iowa always finish last. And then they try to space out as best as they can the really big games, which is why, you see, Indiana playing Ohio State October 17th, and then you see, Oregon at Ohio State on the 7th of November, and just to make sure that they hit the marquee games for their networks. So they do identify or at least nudge some of those matchups in different weekends, but they're not intentionally going, oh, let's put Iowa in the Big Ten West to finish the season. That one was not part of the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's obviously Iowa gets the 3 non-cons at home this year with Iowa State coming to Kinnick. And then you have the 5 Big Ten road games, as always. The Hawkeyes, Kirk Ferentz, we know when he talks about it, he'll have a little snicker and a snort, and he'll mention how they start on the road again in the Big Ten at Michigan. This will be the 20th time in Ferentz's 28 years that they start Big Ten play on the road. 20. Yeah. That is, I mean, that you can't do that random. No, I mean, I know it is probably random, but man, 20 out of 28, that's 71.4% of the time in fact.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
But what a first game though. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing I like about whether it's for Iowa or really for the league is each week there are some really interesting games, and Iowa is certainly the first three are very much connected in that genre, because you look at the first full weekend of Big Ten play: Oregon at USC, Iowa at Michigan, Illinois at Ohio State. The next one, Ohio State coming to Iowa City for the first time since Woodshed. Washington at USC, Michigan at Minnesota. And then the week after that, USC at Penn State, Indiana at Nebraska, and then Iowa at Washington. So and then each week is progressively, like the 17th is just bonkers. Ohio State at Indiana, Penn State at Michigan, first time that they've played since the East Division broke up. And then finally, Nebraska at Oregon. So, and then on and on. And I'd really like the way that breaks up, because it helps national TV. Because as we saw this year, that they just couldn't quite match up with the SEC. And the SEC is going to 9 games, so they really have to do that. But this is a 13-week season, not a 14-week season. So that created a lot more challenges in how they put the schedule together, for everybody. But it also provided better opportunities for more pivotal games each and every week.
Like your number 8 game on your 81 list, also on October 17th. Did you mention this? Northwestern at Michigan State, the Pat Fitzgerald Bowl. Wow, that's I was looking forward to seeing when that one was. So that'll be that's on the Hawks bye week, right? So October 17th. Hawk fans, you can watch like the best day of college football on TV. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the 17th is hilarious in some ways. I tweeted that's also the same day as Iowa State's bye weekend. So you can you can guarantee in the state of Iowa, every pumpkin patch is going to be filled to capacity, because every guy is going to get dragged out and their kids, and you're going to hear all kinds of yelling and exasperated dads and kids crying, and then mom, all right, smile, Johnny. And then your Instagram feed will be filled with #blessed, and everybody's smiling, and everybody knows that they're not smiling inside. So, but anyway, I joke sort of, but anyway, I think that to me stood out. It just kind of cracked me up. There we are, So if you have your Adele 5K or something like that, there you go.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm guessing that's middle school state cross country day up in Ankeny, so we'll see.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So 3 of your top 9, or 3 of your top 8, 3 of your top 9 of the 81 are on the 17th. But anyway, so this is the first year, Scott, that Iowa, since 1954, that Iowa plays Michigan and Ohio State on back-to-back weeks. Boy, we're gonna find out. I mean, so if it's Jeremy Hicklinski or Hank Brown, whoever it is, their first Big Ten start as a Hawkeye is going to be at the Big House, and then the next week they come home to face Ohio State, and then they got to go to Seattle. Very tough place to win. We don't know how good these teams are going to be yet. We just know the names, and all 3 of those teams have been in a national title game in the last 3 years, so we know they're probably going to be pretty good. And Seattle's a notoriously difficult place to play. So, I don't know, that 3-game stretch, just what do you make of that? I mean, what can Iowa do there? What do they need to do there to kind of survive? I kind of, in my column right away, I put it, said like when you faced Mike Tyson back in the day, you had to survive his first rounds, like he would just come out and just pummel you. And you had to just get through that. I feel like that's what Iowa has to do here.
Yeah, and and to Iowa's credit, and the way they play is the jab. If you have longer arms, you keep them at bay. You don't let them get inside on you. You just keep jabbing, and then eventually something will open up thanks to Buster Douglas. And I don't think Iowa is Buster Douglas, but Indiana was Buster Douglas, 2 years ago, and then it became the great champ. But I think in this situation, Chad, it's really hard for us to predict here in January, because I want to see what quarterback looks like. I want to see what defensive line looks like. Those are, to me, the two biggest question marks, and you're not really going to answer them until you go to Ann Arbor and at the end of this spiel, because we could see in the spring how they look and how they throw and what they do, and we could see on Kids Day, and you're texting your text group, maybe I say they look great, and then they throw 5 incompletions, and then everybody gets mad at me. And that happened.
I'm gonna track your tweets and just kind of do the opposite, just to troll you.
Yeah, especially do it the other way, which is I think they look good, and all of a sudden they look like crap. And
Chad said they look bad. Yeah,
and I'm like, I know, I tweeted that before they started looking bad, but nobody believes me. They don't believe me. I mean, if we take it by how Iowa would have performed this year against those teams this year, Iowa beats Michigan, I think, semi-decisively. I think Iowa was a much better team than Michigan. Ohio State at home, probably not the better team, but I didn't think they're the better team necessarily against Indiana and Oregon, but they knew how to drag them down in the rubber filament and slug them with them. And that's certainly possible. I probably would skew towards Ohio State this year, but at home at Iowa anyway, probably a touchdown loss. And then going to Washington, I think it's a coin flip game this year at there. Now here it would have been an Iowa win. So if Iowa played this same schedule, and if you say the Iowa State game, whatever, I mean, Big Ten schedule, I think they probably go something like 7-2 or 8-1 based on this, how you played this year. But there is a ton of guys that are right now either in the East-West Shrine Bowl or in the Senior Bowl, and you're replacing basically 6 of your primary starters and returnees up front on the defensive line. There's a lot of work to be done there before I can really say this team's ready to go challenge. And Michigan, this is the first game for Kyle Whittingham, who's a Hall of Famer like Kirk is. It's going to be one of the older matchups we've ever seen at head coach. I mean, because I think Whittingham will be 66 by then. Kirk will be 71. So, it's 137 combined years of life.
Good stat. We're going to have to figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah. And, and so it'll be a big deal for him. First home Big Ten game, and he's coaching against Iowa, and you know what kind of effort you're going to get from Iowa. So I think that's kind of a coin flip game. The other two, I think they're underdogs. I mean, can you say Jeremiah Smith is the best player in the country, even if he doesn't win the Heisman? He's the most difficult player to ever match up as a wide receiver in the Big Ten history. And I'm not being hyperbolic. I think I'm being true on that he's very much a difficult matchup for whoever is the cornerback or the secondary. And Julian Sand completed 80% of his passes. So that's going to be tough. And then going to Washington, I hope you get a chance to go to this one, because it's going to be, the tailgate, or the sailgating, as they say out in Washington, is going to be awesome. Great environment. It's probably like them coming to Kinnick. I would say that's kind of the same type of scenario. And they've got a great quarterback in Damon Williams, who elected to stay after he was told he can't go.
Yeah. Contractually obligated to stay, young man.
Yeah. Well, you want to get paid. That's what you got to do. You got to live by the rules. So anyway, so difficult, yes. Impossible, no.
And then that Big Ten West stretch, Iowa currently riding a 10. I went back and computed 10-game winning streak right now against the old Big Ten West. And you know what the last loss was, Scott, against the Big Ten West team?
Nebraska, probably.
No, it was the Cooper DeJean fair catch game.
Oh, that's an asterisk, Chad.
Oh, yeah, it didn't count. Okay, I'll have to recalculate the numbers there.
I'm just kidding.
All right, well, we're going to talk about Gronowski here in a sec. But if you, on October 17th, because of these schedules, it's a great time to raise a glass, maybe sit back, drink an Athletic Brewing, NA. Athletic Brewing Company is America's largest dedicated non-alcoholic brewer and a proud sponsor of Legends and Listeners. We really thank them for their support. I'm a big enthusiast of Athletic Brewing. I didn't have one. I couldn't bring it in my luggage. It's a liquid, but I did want to highlight one of their beers that I have yet to try on the show. It's called the All Out. It's a dark and daring stout-inspired brew with notes of roasted nuts and dark coffee. I got my coffee, though, this morning from a place called The Alchemist. It was really, really good from Costa Rica. Anyway, the All Out finishes with a hint of semi-sweet chocolate. Whether you're finishing up your dry January or enhancing your dry lifestyle, Athletic Brewing is absolutely the go-to choice. Athletic Brewing is fit for all times, as their slogan says. Truly, any time of day, pop open an Athletic Brewing beer. Visit their wide variety of products at athleticbrewing.com. And I'm guessing you might end up at Big Grove on the 17th of October. No, you'll probably be covering something. You'll be covering Indiana, Ohio State, right?
Yeah, I might be there, but I tell you what, on Super Bowl Sunday, it wouldn't be a bad idea to go to Big Grove at one of the 5 locations throughout the 4 in Iowa and 1 in Omaha, Nebraska, and coming later this spring, Kansas City, Missouri. And if you're at one of the big groves, especially on Super Bowl Sunday, cheering on either the Seahawks or the Patriots, I would suggest a Golden Spike. It's a mango wheat. It's infused with mango and passion fruit, offering juicy topical flavors for a crisp, refreshing finish. And that's exclusive in Omaha. And, Golden Spike is perfect, especially this time of year when you're starting to think about baseball. Now, if you're at the Des Moines Tap Room, you got your choices, as we know. There's the Des Moines, the silliest goose. And I kind of like the name of it, and I think we should give it a big shout out. And that is, it's made entirely from German wheat, barley, and hops with huge notes of banana and clove. It's poured hard with a thick head. And of course, if you're anywhere, and last night being a major factor at Carver Hawkeye Arena, I saw there was several Easy Eddies finished. I'm glad they were. If they were unopened, I might have joined him. But several Easy Eddies throughout Carver Hawkeye Arena that were cheering on Iowa. And as you know, you could go to the tap rooms at any of those 5 locations in Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, Iowa City, the OG in Solon, Omaha, Nebraska, and then Prairie Village coming up in Kansas City, where the home area of Mason Richmond, who will be making his Super Bowl debut for the Seattle Seahawks.
How about that? I was, when I was watching that Seahawks game the other day, I saw they did a flash of the sidelines, and Mason Richmond's over there, pumping up the crowd like on the, on the Fox broadcast. Mason, how about that? Iowa's left tackle, 7th round draft pick. He was active, right? Obviously,
yeah,
because he was in uniform.
He had 5 snaps in that game.
Okay.
He's been inactive most of the season. He's played sparingly at times, but he was active. Played 5 snaps on special teams. Probably like punt protection or field goal or something like that. But I couldn't be happier for him. He was a true leader. I think you ask any of the current now former offensive linemen who had the greatest influence on him, it's certainly been Mason. And I think his future is, to me, he's played both tackle and guard this year. I always thought he'd make a great center. And I could see him, if he can make that conversion, I think he could be a starter, long-term starter in the NFL.
Yeah, he's athletic. He's strong. Good guy.
Tough.
Really
played with a broken leg.
Tough as no kidding. Tough as nails. Really happy for him. He was one of our favorites, I would say. And not that we play favorites, but I'm just saying in terms of like candidness. Yeah, you could have a conversation with the guy. It wasn't just stale, stoic interviews. It was like a real conversation. And so we always appreciated Mason Richmond. And when I did a big story on the big 3 outgoing linemen of Jones, Stevens, and Dunker. And I remember sitting in that O-line room talking to those guys. And Stevens, had some struggles early in his career, and he said, one of the things he always wanted to do was make Mason Richmond proud, to be like a good lineman in Mason Richmond's eyes. And that gives you a sense of kind of the leader that Richmond was and kind of revitalizing this Iowa offensive line. So really happy for him to get to go to the Super Bowl. And makes me wonder, Scott, next year, will we be seeing a Caden Weegan in the Super Bowl? Will, after Mark Gronowski gets offensive MVP in the Shrine Bowl, what do you like that? What a game! Those guys look good apparently, and I think to me, you could say, oh well, Iowa just underused him again, or you could say, wow, Iowa has some pretty damn good players, and that's why they're finishing top 20 in the country and in these games. Like Iowa has good players, and those were two of them, I think, obviously.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think anything should be considered a slight for Iowa on this situation because, if any of those people watched Mark Gronowski for the first month, they weren't going to think that he was going to go to the Shrine Bowl. But you watch him the last month and bowl game, and you'd say, wow, okay, this is why they brought him in. He can play at this level, and he's still got a ways to go, I think, as far as if he can become a player at the next level. But I think he put himself into a draftable situation, and I think the thing that stands out, he ran for 28 yards in there. He scrambled like he does at Iowa. He's 7 for 10 passing. He got lucky if somebody dropped an interception in the end zone. But then he also had a thunderous block on the goal line. He took out 2 defenders. One rocked him. I mean, just like lifted him up basically into the air. And then that hit the other defender, which enabled a rushing touchdown. But his efficacy is off the charts. I compare his senior season, is a lot like Lucy Olson's for the women's basketball team. Just, struggled at times, and you were kind of wondering, okay, is he going to get this done? And then all of a sudden it's like, wow. And some people may say he's underused. Hell, he had 16 rushing touchdowns. I mean, isn't that the point? To score points? And he did. Mm-hmm. And that was tied with Denard Robinson for the most in a single season in Big Ten history by a quarterback. That was pretty damn impressive. So, did a really good job. We have our crew is all over the place when it comes to draft coverage. I'm back into draft coverage. I did a 2-round mock draft this morning with Nick Baumgardner. So now I'm back on that side of things for a little while. And Gronowski wowed everybody during the week. And then he did, certainly during the game. But I'd say probably the one who rose the most eyebrows is probably Caden Weegan, because he was unguardable in practices. Now, I always think that's unfair to the defensive backs, one-on-one matchups with a receiver, and then especially you got somebody as quick as him. But he made money because even in the game, his returns were great, and to show that he can play receiver in a way where maybe he's a fourth guy and a kick returner.
Yeah.
If you're a team in need of a kick returner, you look in the 4th round, he's a difference maker, especially today because they emphasize returning kickoffs. Mm-hmm. And with somebody like that, and the standing still until they field the ball type of thing, I think he would have been even better in the NFL style of kickoff than he is in college.
Yeah, that was good. That was going to be my question to you. Does he get drafted? I think. Mm-hmm. You think he does? Yeah, I mean, I would draft him. I mean, I think. Yeah. I mean, if Torrey Taylor went in the 4th round, I think he could be to me, you need these guys are very valuable weapons. I mean, a good punt returner, holy moly, that's like a first down.
Yeah.
That's tremendous. And he's just so gifted at the punt returns. He's dynamic. I mean, he's good at catching the ball, make something out of nothing. He's very reliable back there. I think it's a no-brainer. And whatever he gives you at receiver is gravy.
Yeah, I mean, you look at I kind of compare him to Charlie Jones. That's kind of my thought of, okay, if Charlie is drafted X, where would Caden Weegan be drafted as well? And Charlie was a 4th round pick, and he's like basically the 4th wide receiver for the Bengals, and he's their primary returner. And he's done a really good job. He scored touchdowns doing that. I would say that Charlie's probably a better all-around receiver than Caden Weegan. Not as quick. He's bigger, but not as quick. But also, Weegan's got a really sturdy base, but Weegan is a better returner. I don't know that we've seen a better returner than Caden Weegan. And I've said before, he reminds me of Dante Hall. as a player, and I think he's kind of showed that. So if you can infuse that where you've got a guy who can catch 20 passes in an NFL season, and probably, I don't know, and that'd be like his first year, and maybe pick up 400 yards because he'll have break a couple, and then he'll have a couple short ones, maybe 350, but then also be your primary returner. And as you said, if I always think with special teams, punting and returners, if you can average a first down more than what you normally would get, which is pin them at the 5 instead of having them out at the 20, or if as a punter, or if in reverse, instead of taking it out to the 25, you get the team to the 35 every time. That's a major factor in the game. So yes, he made money, as did Carson Shire. He was tremendous all week. Yeah. So I think he probably put himself into a draftable status as well.
Really? Wow.
5th, 6th round, something like that. And then the other 3 are in Mobile. 3 of them are Stevens, Dunker, and Dunker has really flashed, and so has Max Llewellyn. But Dunker's always been kind of that day 2 territory as either a guard or a tackle.
Yeah. Dunker just getting healthy is going to help him a ton. I'm excited to see where Weegan ends up for sure. Maybe he'll end up with the Dolphins and Liddell Betts. I see Liddell Betts is going to the Dolphins, so good for him to have a landing spot there. So he
South Florida.
Yeah, right. That's right. Well, he's got his wife's going to be pumped. Awesome.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's great. I do want to, we're going to transition to winter sports here, and to do that, I'm going to talk about the Iowa Wild. The Iowa Wild are also tremendous sponsors of Legends and Listeners. They got a big game coming up January 30th. I guess that's tomorrow, right? Tomorrow against the Milwaukee Admirals. Make sure to get your tickets. They're going to be the Wild players are going to be wearing their outdoor classic uniforms all weekend on Throwback Threads night, and the first 1,500 fans in attendance will acquire a free Iowa Wild winter scarf. So yeah, that's worth it right there. So check out the Iowa Wild Friday night in downtown Des Moines at the Casey's Center, Scott.
Casey's Center.
Yeah, and then so that'll be right between 2 Iowa women's basketball games. So you got your Friday night free. The first one I'll be covering is tonight at USC, 6 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Central on Peacock. I know I'm pumped to be out here. Really excited to see Iowa women's basketball to me is just, we could talk for like 45 minutes on this because I just think it's an unbelievable story. I mean, they're 8th in the country right now, which is in Caitlin Clark's heyday, they were in this range. I mean, they were a 2 seed type team for most of her career. They did get to the 1 seed at the very end. Obviously they're in that order, but I think it's just impressive that they're at this point. I mean, 9-0 in Big Ten play. What a story.
I agree, because a couple of weeks ago, Chad, I kind of wondered if this is going to be the type of year where it felt like they were trending in some direction where I thought they were going to collapse in some ways, and the opposite actually took place, and I think that's really impressive. In light of some of the, I thought they had some really offensive struggles. I thought Hannah Stolke was struggling for a little while there, but then she's taken like 3 steps forward and become the player that everybody hoped she would be and thought she could be. And that's been, really a good thing when you combine her with Ava Hayden. But I think if there's the hidden hero with this team, it's Chit Chat, right? She is tremendous. She really ignites this team. I think she's as good of a free agent pickup as we've seen in the country. Someone that you weren't sure what you were going to get, and then all of a sudden she infuses everything. She's a great passer. She's certainly a scorer when needs to be, and I think she helps open the floor up for everybody else. And I think she's been kind of when you combine her with Ava Hayden, with Hannah Stolke, and then some of the other players are on the periphery, and we'll get into that. I think she is really a difference maker and could help elevate this team into being, not only a host seed team in the NCAA tournament, but maybe, a one or a two seed, but 2 or 3 seed anyway.
Yeah.
I think she's in that kind of range.
Yeah, definitely. She's been a revelation for sure. Having covered that Maryland game last week out there where both the men's and women's teams successfully blew 17-point leads in the last week,
Yeah.
but won those games. She had a little bit of a rough last minute against Maryland, but then in overtime, she scored 8 of their 12 points in overtime, including the biggest bucket of that game, a little mid-range jumper after Maryland had taken the lead, kind of calmed things down. And then she's a tremendous free throw shooter as well. We talked about Tavion Banks. She's over 90%, so that helps you also down the stretch. Yeah, right now, this lineup is looking really good, even without Taylor McCabe. Taylor McCabe's season-ending injury, obviously heartbreaking. By far the leading 3-point scorer on the team. They're going to be missing that for sure. But Addie Deal obviously is starting to find her form. And so this starting 5, Addie Deal is going to start tonight. Her first career start happens to be in Southern California. How about that?
Yeah.
Between Chit Chat, Deal, Feuerbach, who's just a lockdown defender, and gives you a little bit on offense, gives you free throw shooting, gives you passing. I think she's totally underrated. And then Stulke's passing has been great. And Ava Hayden, I kind of tweeted this too. You just kind of take it for granted because she just makes it look so easy. She'll get just easy layup. Oh, there's an easy layup. Easy layup. And that all comes from, working to get position before the ball even gets to her, where she can spin just like Monica Sonano used to. And she's just got more athleticism than Monica does and more upside. She hits that 15-footer now. Ava's really fun to watch. So those 5, that's a great starting unit. And then you throw in a little bench of Houston and Stremlo right now. It's just easy to like what they're doing, even without McCabe.
It's true, and it's a significant injury, and you feel for her. I read a little bit in the Catholic Messenger and how she's relying on her faith to get her through, and I think that was really a nice story that was written there. And when somebody reaches this part of their senior season, you just hate to see it end like this. You want them to finish it in a positive way. I do think Addie Deal, it's an opportunity for her, and she played really well, and she has played much better. Struggled a little bit early, and it was kind of, but we don't give players enough grace to come in and expect them to just step right in and become a big deal. It's a little deal. Now Addie's a bigger deal, and I think that's really kind of important to give them a little bit of space and let them grow. And now she has that opportunity. And again, not to take anything away from Taylor, she's the best 3-point shooter on the team. That is a significant loss. But I think in some ways now having Addie Deal and Taylor Stremlo take more minutes is a positive for them as well, because I think they influence games. Obviously Addie Deal was a 5-star talent, and you want to give her enough minutes to where she can play and get into a rhythm and show that talent, display it. But also Taylor Stremlo is really underrated in how she just impacts the game in a positive way. It could be her defense, it could be her passing, it could be her toughness. She grabs a rebound that nobody else is going to get to. She scores. She does so many different things well that I think that it's good to see her on the floor a little more often. So of those two, those two filling kind of that vacuum left behind by Taylor McCabe, I think is going to be really important. But God, you just feel bad for her. And he was such a the non-contact, and you saw her go down, and you're like, oh. But I'll say this, Chad, and I think you were there, is to blow out Ohio State. Even with those, they were down early, and her injury, that showed a lot of guts. That showed a lot of toughness, and to beat to me, I think that might be the biggest rivalry in the Big Ten when it comes to women's basketball is Ohio State, Iowa, and both sides feel that way, and so I think that was that showed a lot.
Yeah, Iowa for the first time, I believe, with back-to-back-to-back wins over top 15 opponents. It's just really impressive. I mean, Michigan State at Maryland, and then over the number 11 Buckeyes. I'll call up the net rankings here, but I think they were the number 10, I think, in the women's rankings. I mean, they're right now they are. Yeah,
well,
10.
they were 12. They were net. Oh, okay.
Net, yeah.
They were
They're
like
8.
12th in AP at the time, I think, and Iowa was 10. But
Yeah. So yeah, that's so big game tonight. Out here in USC. USC has fallen on a little bit of hard times, record wise, without Juju Watkins. But every one of their games is like super close. It's kind of like the Iowa women last year. Think about last year. Iowa was 2-6 in the Big Ten with all these close losses. Ever since that, so up in Washington, where they turned it around last year, Iowa is now 17-2 in regular season Big Ten play. Obviously, they went 2-1 in the tournament as well. But 17-2 in this Big Ten, including a win over USC at home last year, including a lot of tough road wins last year. I mean, at Michigan, at Minnesota, you name it. This has been quite a run for. I just think Iowa women's basketball is like, big picture wise, you needed, the handoff from Bluter to Jensen. This is what they needed. This is what they needed to prove that, hey, she knows what she's doing. I mean, she's going to be right there now, I think, for Coach of the Year. She deserves to be for what she's done with this team. Young team. I mean, they just lost another senior. So they're, not that Jimfy was playing, but they've lost 2 seniors now to basically season-ending injuries. This is a young team, and they're figuring it out. But yeah, it's another big game tonight. USC is going to give them all they can handle. They're going to have the target on their backs. They got revenge from last year, probably. Hey, we're going to upset a top 10 team this time. Yeah. There's a lot for Lindsey Gottlieb to circle.
No question about it. And I think, for USC, it's a chance for them to kind of flush away some of those frustrations of the season. And if you're in the Iowa City area, it's time to discover how the plumbing industry can be when you choose a customer-first, independently owned and operated business like Ackerman Plumbing. Ackerman Plumbing services the Iowa City area, and we're thankful for their support here on Iowa Everywhere's Legends and Listeners in Instant Iowa. Ackerman is only in the residential plumbing business, so your calls matter, and they will always be answered in a timely manner. Whether it's for a plumbing emergency, routine service and maintenance, equipment replacement, or upgrades like tankless water heaters and water filtration systems, call Ackerman. Shout out to the Ackerman team, Corey, Stacy, Aaron, Nathan, and all the rest. And if you're interested, they have openings. So visit ackerman-plumbing.com for 5-star residential plumbing services in the Iowa City region.
Have you decided if you're going to go to the Blues Traveler concert, Scott?
Chad, I'm thinking about it. It's right before the Iowa State game. And I think that would be a really nice opportunity to kind of stretch out my 90s and go see Blues Traveler, Gin Blossoms, and the Spin Doctors. And they are, as we know, at the Waterworks Park on September 10th. And the doors open at 5. Music starts at 6 because us old dudes in our 50s that still remember, can I hear all the good times from there, like the Run Around and Hey Jealousy. Well, it starts at 6, and that's really important. It's a Thursday night on Cyhawk weekend, so you can get your start there. If you need your tickets, go to Ticketmaster.com. And we're picking 10 winners by Monday, February 9th. So don't miss your chance to win, and sign up at Iowa.com or sign up at Iowa Everywhere to win tickets.
Yeah, don't go to Iowa.com, Iowaeverywhere.com.
Don't go there.
Let's final thoughts on the women. Obviously, here Thursday tonight for Iowa USC. Sunday will be Iowa UCLA. That's a Fox game. I mean, UCLA has been obliterating everybody, but I'm not gonna count Iowa out from being competitive in this game. I mean, this is Jan Jensen talked about this, and I think we saw this play out against Ohio State. It's going to be interesting to see how they play because I just don't know. But she said after that Maryland game, Scott said, well, we were talking about blowing that lead. She's like, well, we just need to believe that we're a really good team, basically. Like, we just kind of looked around with a 17-point lead and like, oh, it's like kind of froze a little bit. Like, should we be doing this? And I felt like against Ohio State, they heeded that message and they looked like the confident team. So now, can they carry that into this week? That's what I want to see. Because if they can beat USC tonight, and I would guess Iowa's going to be maybe a slight favorite, would be my guess. I haven't seen a line. They're going to be a heavy underdog Sunday. But if they can get a little momentum here, I mean, Sunday's just gravy. You're 10-0 in the Big Ten, potentially going against another 10-0 team in the Big Ten. They just beat Illinois last night. What an opportunity. What an opportunity to just see where you measure up. And, you never know. Go into Pauley Pavilion and shock the world.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. I'm intrigued because, there, and this is just kind of a difference in attitude, and you wonder if it'll work or if it'll fail. And that is, kind of going there, they've got kind of a light mindedness, which is, yeah, we're going to go have dinner here and do all these kind of like, I don't know, fun things, but they've got some fun things planned out in LA and enjoying the weather. Is that the best way to go? Maybe it makes it gets the nerves out of the way, or is it, hey, we need to make this a business trip and only concentrate on the game, but would that make you too tight? This is certainly a tough game tonight against USC because, as you said, Chad, that you can take out your frustrations if you're USC on this tough season and on a team that beat you last year on a big game, and so they've got to play their best tonight to win, and it is on the road. And then, as you said, on Sunday, I think from the big picture perspective that you can say it's gravy and all that, but I think you also, it'll test you as to whether or not you're in that. Can you get to the Elite Eight category? And it's not necessarily winning, it's competing. Because when we saw how they played against UConn, they weren't anywhere near what UConn was. Other than that, the Iowa State loss was on the road, and it wasn't, there's a game they probably should have, could have, would have won, but they didn't.
Yeah, Hayden was in foul trouble the whole game.
Yeah.
Basically played without Hayden.
And Iowa State's a little bit different now than they were then, kind of like in football. But,
without Addie Brown, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I did think that Maryland game, I was kind of laughing. I was thinking, last 3.5 minutes, they kind of Ferentz balled it, and then it didn't work out, when you try to...
two-score milker, yeah.
Yeah, it's like... and they kind of got to this point where they're just trying to milk the clock, and Maryland ramped it up. And when you kind of get yourself into that mindset, this happens in the sports, but you just kind of try to mail it in mentally. It's hard to go back the other way, and it's football. It can be that way if you got you're up 17 in the fourth quarter and you just kind of run the ball 3 times and punt, and then all of a sudden they return the punt for a touchdown, and then they stop you again, they score again. You're like, oh my God, it's a 3-point game. Basketball's a game of momentum that way. And I think they kind of got stuck there. And then of course the last second shot or whatever, and it's just but they survived and they learned. They played a good team. They were able to pull out a victory on the road. And now, can they apply those lessons learned? They did against Ohio State. Can they do it against USC, which means you're going to have to be diligent all 4 quarters and then step up to the plate against, one of the national favorites on Sunday. But it's a Fox game, which shows how this sport has grown. Yeah. The fact that it's a midday game, there's no NFL. Mm-hmm. I think it shows that, women's basketball has arrived, and Iowa should be very proud of how it's positioned itself to be that kind of team.
Great way to finish there, Scott. By the way, the Hawkeyes favored by 1.5 points tonight. So basically a toss-up. That's about how it feels to me, too. That's going to be a tough game. Tough spot for the Hawkeyes, but I think they're the better team. But, coming out here on the road against a really hungry team that's used to success, it's going to be tough. But anyway, thanks, Scott. Great show. Great analysis. Check out Scott's coverage at The Athletic. Check out my stuff out here at hawkcentral.com. And as always, we appreciate you checking in with us on Iowa Everywhere. Legends and listeners from the Channel Seed Studios. Talk to you next week.